Okay, welcome to the Auditor Council meeting. We'll start with the karakia. Do we have any conflicts of interest? Yes.
You wish to waive conflict of interest with the gambling paper, the trust house.
Apologies, we have an apology from Councillor Bowyer.
Apology from Jo Hayes, she's spelled up with both groups.
Thank you. We're prepared to move those, secretary. Councillor Johnson, second Councillor Goodman, all in favour? Thank you. Public forums, no public forum. There's no late items. Page 6, we go to confirmation of the minutes of the council meeting on April 3. We're prepared to move this to joint record. Move Councillor Lennox, seconded. Councillor Johnson, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Sorry, there was just a query on the on page 13, on the right one. The 7.6, the long-term plan documentation, just the last sentence in that report, I don't believe is accurate. There was discussion about it. And, some people thought that the community survey was the service the staff provided, but some of us also thought that it was the building and the staff. So I think that's just going a bit too far, the way that's written up.
Do you have any response to that? Anybody else think that way?
Yeah, I agree. There was no determination about it, just about staff.
Okay, we've got two things. Any other members?
And it wasn't voted on, by the way. It was just a discussion.
Yeah. All I'm asking now is are the councillors happy with what's there?
Perhaps we could go back to the survey and see what the wording was and use that as the distinction or the determination of it.
Sorry, Tom, I can't hear you.
Perhaps we could go back to the survey and look at the wording to see what was actually being asked.
We can clarify. I suggest we go back and clarify and we can come back to the next meeting.
We still accept the minutes based on that.
We can accept the minutes and direct staff to just to clarify that final sentence.
Okay. The minutes have been moved and seconded. All in favour, please say aye. Thank you. We now go to page 22, report of the infrastructure and services meeting on April 7th. David?
I'd like to move that the minutes be accepted, and I don't think there's any questions, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there's any.
Thank you.
And I'll move that.
You'll move this one? Yes, thank you. Any questions to David? Councillor Goodman?
Yeah, just on the couple of points, the consent to discharge to land and water from Homebush. I just wonder if we can get a bit more detail about the consent expires in 2034. Are we expected to have the new consent at that time? And at what stage do we start discussing working towards that consent? Because from memory, the last time we got a consent there, it took 2 years and quite a lot of work and quite a lot of discussion. So it's my first question. And the second one is about the waterways. How's that progress?
So Councillor Goodman, this relates. we're adopting the minutes, we're not creating new discussion on that, so we can answer that question. It's not really related to these minutes.
Oh,
So is that okay? I can come back to you later.
that's fine, but it would be good to discuss the
Absolutely, yeah.
issues. That's understood.
So that's okay, we've got David to, sorry, Councillor Tudor.
I was just about to say that I'd see them.
Second, thank you. Thanks, so moved, Councillor Holmes, second, Councillor Tudor. All in favour, please say aye. Yes, carried. Moving to page 29 was the adoption of the Wairarapa Class 4 gambling and standalone TAB venues policy and step. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. So this paper presents the recommendations of the Wairarapa Policy Working Group, which is a recommendation to adopt the Wairarapa Classes 4 gambling and standalone TAB venues policy following the hearings and deliberations that they took on the policy. So the hearings and deliberations were held on 15th of April, and then followed the 1 month consultation period that took place between February and March, where 23 submissions were received on the policy and 4 senators spoke in support of these senators at the hearings. So just a reminder, the key proposals for consultation, they were an amendment so that no Class 4 gambling venues could relocate in Masterton. There was a different amendment on the relocation policy for Carterton and South Wairarapa, where the venues wouldn't be able to relocate to the most deprived areas. There was an amendment so that no standalone TAB venues could be established in Wairarapa, and there was a clarification that we have a seconded approach for the Wairarapa, just to clarify the intent of the policy. So the Wairarapa Policy Working Group, they deliberated, taking into account all the community feedback that they heard, and as a result of that, they proposed one amendment to the policy to clause 6.1, which would read, Council will not grant consent for a Class 4 venue to permanently re-establish at a new site in Masterton District under any circumstances. Now, from the discussion at the Wairarapa Policy Working Group, the intention of that clause was to enable temporary relocations to be considered on more of a case-by-case basis, which is reflected in the report as well as the minutes that are attached to your report. We think that that clause, as it stands, stands alone as a document in the policy, could be strengthened a little bit just to clarify that it is intended to provide that temporary relocation. And so, subject to your agreement today, I think we would, our advice would be to agree to that amendment of the clause, but then also to direct staff to provide some additional wording under that clause 6.1. And we could bring that back just to clarify that temporary relocation aspect and bring that back to your council meeting on the 26th of June for approval. Yes, take questions.
I'd rather see that wording. I mean, this is quite a key and controversial subject.
Yeah.
And I would personally would rather see that wording before I vote on it.
Yes, that's what we're asking.
Oh,
to
sorry,
give us
I thought you were asking
yes.
for approval now.
No, so directing staff to
the
go away and
actual-
do a bit more work on that wording, taking into account and reflecting the feedback of the large policy working group and the intention, but just to tighten it a little bit so it is really clear.
What we would be doing, Councillor Goodwin, is directing staff to provide additional wording of the policy that sets out the circumstances under which the council would approve temporary relocation. So that would, and this would be done at the 26th June. Thank you. Right, any questions? Somebody prepared to move the recommendations on with that number, with that addition to the recommendation that staff will come back. What this is doing, from what I understand, Stephen, you can say whether I'm right or wrong, is if say a place is burnt down or something like that, they can temporarily relocate for a short period of time until they are able to build their building again on the previous site.
Yeah, to re-establish at that original location, not to a new location.
Not to a new location, yeah.
Well, can I move that this, is deferred until the next council meeting on the 26th of June? And we'll come back with the officers' wording and we'll vote on it.
Well, we at least do that by way of resolution here, which is in front of us, so, which is to go away and who we can bring in.
Yeah, so what we're asking is for clarification from council that you agree to the policy that relocation on a temporary basis will be allowed in the Masterton area. If you don't agree with that policy, then having that discussion now rather than us going away and doing work on the wording for that is appropriate that you have that discussion to debate that today.
Okay, Councillor now.
Just a question and some discussion later on as well, thank you. With the short term and the reasons why these facilities could be moved, it could also be the earth-based income.
That's where we think there's likely to be a little bit of clarity at the moment. It's quite open, it's quite case by case, and so there was no time frame put on what that temporary would be, or the conditions under which Master might consider an application for relocation on a temporary basis.
Yeah, because my point is people reading this might think short term is 1 or 2 months, maybe 3 months. But with earth-based thing, if we're not really clear, it could be potentially years for the facilities moved.
Okay, is somebody prepared to move an update? Yeah, question? Is that a question?
No, I'm just going to say, there's no way that I can support it.
No, hang on, we haven't listened to
No,
discussion
sorry,
yet. We are going
yeah.
on, is there somebody prepared to move the recommendation?
Can I ask
Is there a question? Yeah, Councillor Lane.
So if we agree today to temporary relocation, you guys will go away and then come back with the conditions that will make it clear under what basis that relocation can take place.
That's what we would like to do, yeah. At the moment, as it's written, we lose some of those initial criteria that Supper over in Masterton have, for example, around in the clause 6.2, and we just think that it would be more appropriate and help both of the community to provide some of that clarity, but also council in applying the policy to have a little bit more clarity around what we would expect it to look like.
Okay,
And so...
is there a question?
And will we get a chance to vote on that on 26th of June?
Yep.
Those changes.
Yeah, so just one more question.
Yeah.
So this could be a short term, we could be looking at something like a 1 month move of the facility, and we could have criteria that something like if it was earthquake strengthening, that would be part of this, or anything that's going to extend the venue being moved for potentially years, would it be considered by us, and we're not supporting that at all. That's an option, the sort of option that you'll come back with.
We could look at the type of conditions and criteria that may apply under a temporary relocation. I think what we're wanting your support with today is actually, as a group, do you support temporary relocation, and we can then work out the conditions and criteria that the Masterton District Council, as it is a Masterton specific clause,
I think the big thing with this is that we're not actually saying that there should be more. All we're saying is that if there's a fire or if there's an earthquake or something, that they get the opportunity to relocate to somewhere temporarily until they can replace the former building.
So
The numbers stay the
But
same.
the wording will come back, and if you're not happy with the wording, you change the master.
Yeah. So, have I got to move it for the recommendation? Move Councillor Lennox, second it? I'll second. So now we have discussion. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Nelson.
So my vote was recorded in that policy working group, and I was the one of the 6 who didn't support it. And I don't support it now. Any way in which we can reduce these facilities, be it short-term or long-term in a community, I think we should take that opportunity, and that seemed to be what was supported by this council last time we voted. And I keep hearing the argument that if they can't use these facilities, they're just going to go and do online gambling, and that's just a massive assumption. And also, overwhelmingly, the feedback that came from consultation was that people didn't support this, and they supported the numbers coming down. So I won't support this today.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Any further discussion? Councillor Lennox.
Just so we're clear, today isn't about agreeing on what we're choosing as a council to move forward with. So we've still got that decision to be made at the next meeting around where this policy actually sits. This is just literally, we're not actually agreeing today in concrete as to what the problem. Yeah, this is just an amendment to the. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of confusion amongst you.
Sorry, if we can try and clarify. So we are asking you to agree today on supporting the policy proposal that we will allow temporary relocations. If you don't support temporary relocations under any circumstances and you prefer no relocation, then that's something that I would advise that you make clear. The other alternative is that in section 6.2 is the position of the South Wairanapa and Masterton District Councils. That is also an option for council to take forward.
Thank you. Councillor Helena?
Yeah, the last time we looked at this, I was very much in favour of making it a permanent location only. But I think it's reasonable to accept variances to that. I believe if we were to agree to permanent or no relocation at all, done a bit of research, and I don't believe it will impact on problematic gambling. And I think if we agree to some variances on permanent location, I don't think it's going to impact problematic gambling, which was where my stance come from. And I have to, after doing some reading on this, the number of people that use Class 4 gambling venues, for many of the people, they use it for pleasure. It's not problematic. There is a community good associated with it. So I think, depending on what the variances come back to us are, I think it's a step in the right direction where we are tying the gambling scene down just a little bit more. But we don't have unlimited powers to get rid of it. And I'm sort of comfortable with the motion or the new motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lena. Councillor Hunt?
Yeah, I was going to say just before, but I as it's worded here, I couldn't back it as it's worded here, but I completely understand the new resolution and look forward to the result.
Thank you. Councillor Hunt? Any further discussion, Councillor Goodman?
Just a query on why I still don't get why you need to pass it today. I don't think there's a time pressure that I'm aware of on this, or I can't wait until we get the completed document on the 26th.
But all we're doing, when you look at it, Councillor Goodman, all we're doing is noting, the first one's noting a review, second one was noting consultation, third one's noting that hearings and deliberations are undertaken. They're all not a problem.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything, Gary. The big change is the bit we're talking about and we will resolve. That's the change we made to this policy. And we won't have that in full clarity until the 26th of June. So my question is, why the need to pass it today and not the 26th of June when it doesn't expire, as far as I'm aware? There's no pressure on us to do it. It just seems odd to want to vote now.
So, can I just clarify? We would like today an agreement in support, or not, depending on how this council votes, to the proposed amendment to the policy from the Wairarapa Policy Working Group. So, to clause 6.1, with that addition, council will not grant consent for a Class 4 venue to permanently re-established at a new site in Masterton District under any circumstances. So that is a policy decision that we're seeking today, but it would just be that we go away and do some work exactly to bring some additional wording to add into that clause that sets out the circumstances under which we would approve temporary relocations. So there still would be a decision that is for discussion today around whether Masterton as a council supports that recommendation of the working group that council will not grant consent for a class 4 venue to be permanently raised.
And it relates really to the effective use of staff time. So either we go away and do all this work, or we don't. So the idea is give us a steer today in a direction whether you want us to go away and do that work. Otherwise, we're going to go and do the work and it may be voted down because there may be no interest at all to allow people to relocate. So,
Right, any further discussion? I must say that I agree with Tom. Tom couldn't put it better than Tom, really. I think that this is basically what we're not actually increasing the number of venues. All we're doing basically is saying if somebody gets into a problem with a fire or an earthquake or something, they get the opportunity to temporarily relocate and go back to where they were. And I mean, I think that's, I'm certainly satisfied.
Can I just make one more point? Is that okay? Can I make one more point, please?
Yes, certainly.
Just in regards to Tom's point, we don't have unlimited power, but we have some power. And this is the one area where we do have some power to reduce these facilities in a short-term period of time, or a long-term period of time, or permanently. And we know that a lot of the people who are putting the money into these machines are most vulnerable. And yet, sure, grants are awarded, but often these are awarded to organisations that don't have vulnerable people in their communities. So you're only shifting money potentially from the most vulnerable, supporting organisations that don't have those people in their communities. This is our opportunity to reduce facilities, albeit even for a short period of time, or is our opportunity to make these facilities available for people to put their money into those machines for a period of time that they won't get back.
Thank you, Councillor Now. I think I could just, not apply that just in my own point of view, which I gave at the last meeting, is that I always struggle personally with, and directly opposite to you really, I struggle personally with making rules for small percentages of the people when a large percentage of the people are responsible and don't get into any problem. So that's just a different point of view.
Bit like firearms, I suppose.
So I'm going to put the recommendations, moved by Councillor Lennox, seconded by myself, with the adding the one on that says that we would approve temporary relocation and the policy will come back on the 26th of June. All in favour, please say aye.
could we just have that clarified, Gary? Could we just have that information clarified or said a little bit slower?
Oh, sorry. It's the recommendations are in there, but in number 5 it says that we're directing staff to provide additional wording under clause 6.1 of the policy that sets out the circumstances under which Masterton District Council would approve temporary relocation for Class 4 venue and to bring the policy back to the 26th June 2024 Council meeting for approval. Which is basically what you said. So, all in favour? Would you put your hands up, please, if you're in favour? Right hand. 5. Thank you. Against? The motion is passed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steph. We now move to the page 76, the dog feast, 2024-25. Corin.
Morning, councillors. I'll take the paper as read, and just to note, there's 3 points in the paper. One is to seek approval of the fees and charges for dog registration and associated fees, 24-25. Another one is that we're seeking council's agreement to provide free registration and permits for keeping more than 3 dogs in the urban area for specified charities who are involved in the fostering and rehoming of dogs. And also to seek council's direction as to whether we should continue investigating this scheme to assist community service card holders with the cost of de-sexing. And I'll take questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Corin? Councillor Lennox.
Thanks, Corin, for your report. Just a query around the fostering and rehoming services charities. Apart from the RSPCA, what other, or how many other have we got in the Masterton region?
In the Masterton region in total, I'm not sure, but we've got 3 others named, which are in the paper. Sorry, I'm just... So Retired Working Dog New Zealand Charitable Trust, Alice Canine Rescue and Rehome and Chance for Change. So they're the ones that we've been working with, and so they're the ones that we're proposing, both in terms of, because we know they're the ones we work with, and that gives us the ability to have an understanding of what the likely cost implications will be, and continue working with them.
And for any others that may come up to the surface that you may not know about, they'd have to, I presume, be a registered charity and all legal and...
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Helena?
Yeah, it might not be directly relevant, you might not have this information with you, Cora, but that's okay. I just noticed the number of dogs that we've impounded has gone down, I think, to 143 this year. Do we have the data on the number of actual dog days in the pound? So it's 143 dogs times how many days? What's the total? Do we know the total number of days?
I'll check with Jill, who is here from the Animal Services team.
That's not something we can currently provide, because the system that we use doesn't give us an ability to download the length of time a particular dog was in the shelter. So some dogs would be maybe in there for 3 months if it's for looking at prosecution and that sort of thing, whereas other ones would be picked up the same day they were impounded. So yeah, it's quite a variable. We are working on a way of getting that information, but currently we don't have it.
But that's something that we can expect in the future?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions from Karen? Somebody prepared to move the recommendations on page 76, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Nelson. Any discussion? Councillor Johnson?
Hi, thanks Karen. Just a few things. One is I definitely support the amnesty on registrations for people fostering dogs while they're in care. I also celebrate the fact that you're looking at a discount in registration for community cards. And the thing I do want to question though is we've been talking about tags for life for about 4 years. First time it was put on the table, and I can see his line, we're still looking into this. It just seems to be taking forever, and I know that other councils have adopted that policy, and I see it as a cost efficiency measure. And so, you know, can we get on with it? Just to see if it is more cost efficient and more workable. It just seems that it's a never-ending conversation.
So yes, shall we do want to look into it further? I'm aware that for the team, the change of colour tags is a useful way of actually being able to identify quickly. And also where, although technically in the Act, it says that you need to issue a new one. We know that currently prosecutions aren't being done in that space, but so we will look into that and we'll come back to you.
I'd just like to say if it's in the Act though and other councils have adopted it, that's the first question. And the other thing, I just wanted to congratulate the team on rehoming 18 dogs, and that's a great result.
Any further discussion? Any further questions? Somebody prepared to move that? Councillor Johnson, Councillor Nelson. Any further discussion? The only thing I would say is that I've been a real opponent of our fees for some time, because I think that compared to Carlton and South Wairarapa, they are still too high. The difference is still too great. I still feel that way, but however, because the recommendations do include a number of possibilities where people could be better off, I'm prepared to go along with the recommendations on this occasion. So I'll put the motions. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much. We now move to the page 86, the District Licensing Committee appointments, and that's Brian as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so the purpose of this report is to seek your agreement to instruct the Chief Executive to run recruitment for the Chairperson or Commissioner of the District Licensing Committee. And that would run alongside the recruitment of members for the committee as well. And we'll take questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Karen? Yes, councillor Leah?
Yeah, what's the current process for determining the chair and list members?
So there's an appointed chair, and that's been in place for some time, that's Fraser Melbourne. The members have been in place since, it's about 10 years, I think, the last time there was a process run. And so we've run the process that's outlined in here, which is quite a prescribed process to make sure that we've got the right appointments to the committee and the chair, following the requirements that are in the Act.
And that'll be a consistent process over time, every 3 years, or?
I'll just check with Cherie in terms of, because I'm not sure about the time period, but yes, definitely a consistent process because we need to comply with the Act to do it. Cherie, are there any particular requirements around time?
No, so the chair and the list members can be appointed for up to 5 years, so that will be determined by what the appointment period will be.
And can I ask the CE, is that going to overburden you in terms of workloads?
No, we're just simply running a process, so the decisions will be made here by council.
So we're moving to a more consistent, fair, transparent process?
Simply running a process.
And as a council, we're very much in favour of that?
Incredibly in favour of that. Thank you, councillor.
Any further questions? Subject to me. Sorry, councillor Wilbur.
I just wonder if you could talk to us about the, I presume the possible complexity of the job and why you're recommending a commissioner as the chair.
Foreign question.
So my understanding is we're required to have one. So that's part of the process. So we have to have somebody appointed in that role. The term between commissioner and chair, I'll just check with Cherie again. Is there any technical difference between those two terms?
Yes, so a chairperson is a councillor, so a councillor could be appointed as a chair, and a commissioner is someone who's not a councillor. I've just in the Act used the two different terms to distinguish that.
And we're proposing that we go to the community to because it's been a while since we've done that, to actually see what interest and expertise is out there in the community, because there are requirements around a person in that role in terms of having the right experience and knowledge to be able to be in that position.
Okay, councillor Tutor.
Thank you for your report, Corin. Is there a requirement for a commissioner to have a qualification, like making good decisions?
There's no requirement for them to have a qualification, but there is a requirement for them to have experience in the alcohol or alcohol-related industries. So they've got or involvement in work that might be around like a charity that supports people in the space, so they bring the right skills to the role.
Any further questions? No further questions. The recommendations are on page 86. Somebody approve? Oh, sorry. Somebody approve councillor Lennox?
Move it.
Yeah.
I'll move it if no one else wants to.
Yes. Councillor Johnson. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I'll put the recommendations. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now go to the Chief Executive report. Tim.
Thank you, Worship. Let's take the report as read, and the team's here also to answer any questions you may have related to these specific areas. So,
Any questions for Tim? Councillor Goodman.
Good to see you redirecting our efforts towards execution rather than prolonged planning. Thoroughly report that. And it was interesting in your report on the Infometrics webinar, the fact that households are spending $248 a week more than they were in 2018-19 across the majority of spending categories and driven by inflation. with 53% per week more on housing and 66 per week more on food. On the flip side, so that tells us what happens when we're in recession. Well, likewise, what happens when we increase our rates. And the flip side, that people are spending less on recreation, culture and renovations is, I think, very important point to remember when we go extracting more money from the community. Because sometimes, and it's the nature of council, we do it to provide more recreation and culture, and it's the very activity we do. So I just want to applaud that point, making
What
it
was the question?
into your notes. The question about, I just wonder, and now might not be the time, the NPS 1B requirement for councils to identify new significant natural areas for 3 years and speed up the process to make on any national directions, such as national policy statements. At some stage, can we get a bit more information about that? It sort of feels like a big hammer moving around somewhere that I don't understand.
We can do that, councillor.
Any further discussion, Councillor Thompson?
Yep. Thanks, Kim, for your report. My quote of the day from Kim's report was more red carpet, less red tape. And one of the things that we want to focus on as council is being more customer centric and saying yes first rather than no. So I like that. Well done.
Councillor Helena?
Joe was first.
Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Joe, Jill, I think you're on the apologies at the moment, so...
I'll try and go something away. Take it up and tell her just there you are.
So mine is a supplementary around the metrics of councillor. Down here, sorry. And this information that you've got here, that's national and regional, it's not just Masterton, is it?
That's correct. I think it's, oh, actually, I think it is Masterton.
It is Masterton.
Yeah, yes it is.
Okay, I just thought that national and regional context is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any further discussion, Councillor Nelson?
Thank you. Going back to the informatics report, you know, this clearly shows the massive pressure our community's under. You know, $248 each people are spending per week, that's huge. I think we need to look at every possible way that we can reduce the burden on our ratepayers by only focusing on what's absolutely essential when we look at our long-term planning options. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nelson, any further? Councillor
Yeah, I did have one. I was just putting Joe.
Yeah, it's all right.
I just want to, certainly support Councillor Nelson's point, but just want to acknowledge the CE's drive for greater efficiencies, and I'd just like to acknowledge the work that he's done already in that space, and thank him very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Nelson. Any further? Just get Councillor Goodwin.
Just on page 100, where we recognise and provide for the content of natural resources documents, etc., etc. I just wonder if you can spell out, this does not apply, it would affect the existing development scheme under section 112. So Wairarapa Moana documents doesn't restrict the identification of freshwater values. So, yeah, I'm just a little bit...
I'll see if Leanne might be able to answer that one.
Sorry, no, I'll need to find out more about that, sorry. I'll need to look into that a bit further. But I think there's, like it says, there's some existing matters that it doesn't counteract. The Natural Resource Committee, it will take them into cause and effect, but won't override them perhaps, yeah. But I'll find out more for you.
Yeah.
Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. I've just got a question regarding the Wairarapa Moana Statutory Board. It says that there'll be a member appointed from the Masterton District Council.
To the Natural Resources Committee.
Yeah, that's in the future?
I think that'll be indicative once they set up the Wairarapa Moana Statutory Board's terms.
And will that be
and
staff?
guiding documents. So they've got to come up with a vision.
Okay.
And when out of that
So it's
vision.
way away. And my question is, will that be an officer appointment or a councillor appointment?
I'm not sure. I think it sits with the council.
We're still working that out as to the actual governance structure, and that's what the board needs to do when they put their terms of reference together. So it will come and we'll provide more information to the council.
Thank you.
May I speak? I think that it's to keep it in mind that there needs to be representation on there when the time is right to have that to put forward from council. So you decide who it is.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify, the Infometrics information was national data?
Oh, those figures on there. Can you confirm that when you compare Masterton with the national scene, that it is quite definitely worse, reflecting our higher housing affordability and lower incomes? Is that correct, Tim, from my reading?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll come back to you on that. I've read a few reports on that, so one was the Masterton specific, and this report here, yeah, I'll need to come back to you on that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to answer incorrectly.
Yes.
Any further discussion? No further discussion, somebody prepared to move to come to court? And Councillor Johnson, Councillor Goodman, all in favour, please say aye. We don't have any councillors' reports, although I'm prepared to take them if we do have any that you want to put forward. No. Okay, from my point of view, just looking at a quick report for myself, I think that over the last month, since our last meetings, I think significant time's been spent on our long-term plan and on the consultation. And I want to thank all of you guys and particularly staff for the excellent work that you've done in that regard. I think to get over 750 submissions is well, it's not, I won't say it's excellent because of the population we have if you look at how many people we've got, but it's certainly a big improvement on what we've done in the past, and it's double of what we were in 2021. So we now look forward to the hearings on the 22nd and 23rd of May, maybe even the 24th of May, because there's so many of them who want to be heard. And obviously we're going to be making some pretty important decisions after that. So, well done to everybody there. I think a big thanks particularly to our comms team who came up with some quite novel ideas to get people interested in our consultation, and I think they worked pretty well, or very well actually. Another thing that I'd like to mention too, which is on a positive note, is the work of our rural advisory groups and our climate change advisory group. Both of those groups are working extremely well. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be at those meetings and to get points of view, to hear points of view from people who are at the coalface of those respective fields. I think it's a big advantage for council. I'm absolutely rapt we're having a disability action group, and we're asking for expressions of interest for that group now. I think that's going to be another very big plus for council. And also I'd like to mention how our youth council is making quite an impact. And I know that they've been involved in our long-term plan process, which is great, because they give another side to it. So that's been great. Stella, thank you for the work you've done on that. The Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, if I could just mention that that's going pretty well. There's been a number of placements made here in Masterton. It's fair to say probably though that because of the current environment, employers are a little bit less reluctant than perhaps they were 3 or 4 years ago to take on people, but there are some very good numbers of placements still being made, and I think it's great that we're part of that. I want to also talk about a little bit about the screening of the Waitangi interviews, which Bex and I went along to, and I'm just hopeful that we can see those interviews at a council meeting, and certainly I know that they're going to go online. This was a tremendous project, and Marama here was one of the stars of the show, one of the main actresses in the whole thing. But it was really fantastic, and I know from my point of view, if you're like me and you look at the Treaty of Waitangi and you don't possibly go into it as much as you should, that particular evening opened my eyes quite a bit and was a really, really worthwhile production. And I know that Deb Davidson from our staff and Corin were very much involved with that, and so well done to them. It really is a terrific production and well received. I also went along to a UCOL nursing students community meeting in which they came up with this. These students have gone through and through the Tiawhina Community Hub have come up with a health plan for people to make it easier for them to get health services, to become more accessible, and to teach them how to actually deal with people with the health providers. And I thought that was terrific. Again, it was very moving, and it just shows that our community, you've got some great people in it when they're doing things like that. And finally, the Anzac Day ceremonies went really, really well. Thank you to Bex for going to the Anzac Bridge one on my behalf, and Masterton and Tanui, very big crowds. The staff had gone out of their way to make the places look good, and we got a lot of really good comments about that. So a lot of positive stuff happening. And I just want to finish by mentioning David Paris here. For 40 years, David has been a member of the Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand, and there was quite an award due the other day, David, and you've got your picture in the paper, and I would just like you to present to you a card here on behalf of the councillors for congratulating you on doing so well. So that's the end of my verbal report. I'll now move into...
Can I just make a quick comment on the report?
Yes.
Just in regards, it's so good about the increased numbers of consultation that's come through. And I think if we look back, if we're honest with ourselves, the burdens and way in which people had to do consultation last time, I think would have been a big driver in people not going through that process. So congratulations to staff and learning from the past and making things a lot better and easier this time.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. I know that you particularly have been, and some others of us too in the past, have been a little bit frustrated at particularly the online stuff, and I thought that's really good to hear from yourself, those comments. Okay, we move on now, and we're moving into, could somebody move that we go into public excluded? Moved by Councillor Holmes, seconded by Councillor Tuta. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.